We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, Mga Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. On today's headlines. The Philippines will begin large-scale human testing of Russia's coronavirus vaccine in October, but President Duterte will not receive the inoculation until regulators guarantee its safety. More than 800 people returning from Da Nang quarantined before going out to Hanoi. Our EBC correspondent Ralph Wandolph Empay is among those returnees, and he will give us an update. Indonesia's Mount Sinabung erupted again with a string of blasts that sent plumes of ash to 2 kilometers into the sky, triggering a flight warning and fears of lava flows. The Philippines will begin large-scale human testing of Russia's coronavirus vaccine in October. However, President Duterte will not receive the inoculation until regulators guarantee its safety, according to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. The president had offered himself up for the first jab, expressing huge trust in the vaccine despite growing skepticism about its effectiveness. But his presidential spokesman, Harry Roque, said the president was scheduled to receive the vaccine no earlier than May 1, weeks after the Russian-funded Phase 3 clinical trial in the archipelago is due to end in March. The country's Food and Drug Administration is expected to approve the vaccine developed by the Gamaleya Research Institute and the Russian Defense Ministry in April. Moscow says it has developed the world's first vaccine offering sustainable immunity against the coronavirus and is in final stage of tests involving 2,000 people. Roque said Philippine experts will review next month the results of Russia's Phase 1 and 2 clinical trials before the Southeast Asian country starts its Phase 3 testing.
Sa Setyembre, magkakaroon ng review ng Vaccine Expert Panel ng resulta ng clinical trials Phase 1 and Phase 2 na ginawa po sa Russia. Mula Oktubre naman po hanggang Marso ng susunod na taon ay magkakaroon ng clinical trial Phase 3. Simultaneous po yan sa Russia at sa Pilipinas. Sabay po itong gagawin nga po sa Russia. Ang Russia po ang magpopondo ng clinical trial na gagawin dito po sa Pilipinas. Sa Abril, inaasahang marirehistro po ang bakuna ng Russia sa Food and Drug Administration at ibig sabihin po, sa Mayo 1, 2021 pa lamang na po pwedeng magpasaksak ng bakuna galing sa Russia ang ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Ulitin ko po, pwede lang po, inaasahan natin na po pwede magpabakuna ang ating Presidente dito po sa Russia na bakuna sa Mayo 1, 2021. Well, masaya ko po rin mga binabalita na bukas po ang Russia sa transfer of technology para sa local manufacturing of the vaccine. Sa katunayan po, hinihikayat nila yung iba't ibang mga bansa na tumulong para mag-manufacture ng kanilang bakuna. Yung aking target date po na May 1, ito po isang ayon nga pala sa DOH.
More than 800 people returning from Da Nang were quarantined before going out to Hanoi. Our EBC correspondent Ralph Wandolph was among those returnees from Da Nang, and he follows this developing story. Ralph Wandolph Empay reports.
Over 800 people stranded in tourist hotspot Da Nang due to its COVID-19 outbreak are expected to land in Hanoi on August 12 and 13 and be quarantined upon arrival. The capital city's high command said at a Monday meeting on COVID-19 prevention that the passengers will be quarantined at the military school under the high command in Sontai town. 35 kilometers west of Hanoi Center. All passengers and flight crew will wear protective clothing and have their temperatures checked before getting on the plane. The planes will be disinfected after they deplane. National flag carrier Vietnam Airlines and budget carrier Vietjet Air will transport the passengers on Wednesday and Thursday respectively. The tourists have had to remain in Da Nang since July 28 when it went into a semi-lockdown and suspended all means of transportation in and out of the city. Da Nang, now Vietnam's COVID-19 epicenter, recorded the country's first domestic COVID-19 case on July 25 after a 99-day streak without community transmission. On August 13 and 14, 625 people will return to Ho Chi Minh City from Da Nang. Ho Chi Minh City's chairman Nguyen Tan Phong said on Monday, the returnees' samples have been taken for novel coronavirus testing in Da Nang at the request of Ho Chi Minh City authorities. The test results would be available on Tuesday, according to Chuong Thi Hong Hein, director of the Da Nang Department of Tourism. She said in a statement that since Hanoi has not asked for tests to be done before people aboard the plane, the returnees will be tested in the quarantine zone in the capital city. Nearly 1,700 visitors, mainly from Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, are reportedly stuck in Da Nang, a top tourist attraction in central Vietnam. This is Ralph Wandel Empire bringing you the latest updates here in Vietnam. We live in interesting times.
A COVID-19 vaccine is set for human trials in October. Joining us live from Vietnam is Micah Gwyneth Apostol. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Alma.
Yes, go ahead, Micah.
Here's the latest news from Vietnam. Vietnamese COVID-19 vaccine set for human trials in October. First phase of human trials on a made-in-Vietnam COVID-19 vaccine could begin as early as this October. The Institute of Vaccines and Medical Biologicals, or EVAC, in Nha Trang City, partnering with New York-based Icahn School of Medicine and the global health nonprofit organization PATH, expects to conduct testing on small groups of volunteers in October to December this year. Phase 2 is comprising larger groups of people, and Phase 3 is comprising up to thousands will be conducted at the beginning of 2021. The Institute plans to submit documents for approval to the Health Ministry as early as April next year and claims to be capable of producing 30 million doses a year. By October 2021, the vaccine could be distributed to the general population. According to Duong Hu Thai, head of EVAC, the production of its COVID-19 vaccine will be similar to the production of influenza vaccine. The vaccine candidate has shown initial positive results in animals, Thai said, but it was too early to claim success. Another firm vaccine on biological production #1 company under the Ministry of Health, partnering with the UK-based University of Bristol, since February, said after trials on mice demonstrating strong immune response to coronavirus, especially after the repeat shot, it aims to conduct trials on small groups of people at the beginning of next year. Va Biotech is developing its vaccine candidate using the protein subunit method, using only part of the SARS-CoV-2 virus to stimulate the immune system to release antibodies. The company said it is optimizing production procedures for large-scale production of the vaccine and could produce up to 100 million doses a year. Two other companies in Vietnam are researching a vaccine, including the Center for Immunization Vaccine Polyvac, partnering with the National Institute of Hygiene and Epidemiology, which is still waiting for approval from the Ministry of Science and Technology for its research. The last is Nanogen biopharmaceutical company in Ho Chi Minh City using protein from the SARS-CoV-2 strain found in China's Wuhan, where the virus is thought have first emerged. Together with the mutated strain D614G, the dominant strain rapidly spreading across the world, including the outbreak in Vietnam. The Health Ministry has asked the two companies to start preparing for large-scale manufacturing in case their vaccines are approved. Nguyen Thu Van, member of Scientific Council under the Ministry of Health, said a Vietnamese-made COVID-19 vaccine could be obtained by the end of 2021. Vietnam health authorities have many times insisted the return to normal can only be achieved with the COVID-19 vaccine, and the country is aiming for self-reliance to make sure of sufficient distribution to all its population of 95 million. Back to you, Alma.
Yes. Micah, Russia has already come out with the first vaccine. How is Vietnam reacting to this? And is Vietnam interested in getting a vaccine from Russia?
Actually, Alma, Vietnam has yet to initiate plans to purchase a newly announced vaccine against the SARS-CoV-2 virus produced by Russia, pending confirmation on its safety and effectiveness. Dr. Do Tuan Dat, director of the Company for Vaccine and Biological Production, the #1 company under the Ministry of Health, said Russia is poised to launch its manufactured vaccine known as Sputnik V, the first of its kind worldwide. However, it has yet to release any scientific data relating to testing. Dr. Dat said that Russia has not published scientific research into the vaccine. Therefore, we have no reference data as well as an assessment of its effectiveness. But at the present, Alma, a total of 4 Vietnamese companies, including Va Biotech, have registered to research and develop a COVID-19 vaccine locally, with a candidate vaccine poised to begin human trials later this year. Back to you, Alma.
Okay, thank you very much, Micah, for your updates there in Vietnam. Thank you, EBC Vietnam Bureau.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam, this is Micah Green at Apostle. We live in interesting times.
From Vietnam, we go to Thailand, where in Pattaya, the province said that the authorities there are saying that masks are still legally required in public areas. Esther Odanga reports.
The Chonburi government. Life in Thailand is returning back to normal. It is now on the 6th phase or phase of normalcy. People go back to work and students are back to school. However, according to Pattaya News, everyone in Chonburi province, including Pattaya City, are still legally required to wear face masks in all public areas. This includes on the beach, however, not while swimming. During the lockdown period, the Chonburi governor made the decision to make masks mandatory in the province to help control the potential spread of the COVID-19 coronavirus. Masks were not made mandatory in every province in Thailand, but was up to the governor's discretion. The wearing of a mask fell under special orders, which also fall under emergency decree. Violations of the law could see fines in theory as high as 100,000 baht or 2 years in jail, as they fall under stiff emergency decree laws. As the emergency decree has continued to be extended and the governor never released a new order dropping mask requirements, from a technical and legal perspective, they are still required in the area. They are reminding the local travelers in the area to observe protocol and never let the guard down. In reality, mask wearing, according to the Ministry of Public Health, has dropped to about 60% nationwide. At this point, the mandatory mask rule passed in April as part of the local orders by Chonburi Communicable Disease Control Committee remain in effect. The mask-wearing legal requirement will likely stand until the emergency decree is cancelled. Giving you the latest updates from Pattaya, Thailand, this is Esther Odanga. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Esther. Let's head on to Malaysia and let's get the latest situation there. Joining us live is Gail Aldos. Hello, Gail.
Yes, hello, Alma.
Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah. The Ministry of Health has detected another new cluster related to the COVID-19 outbreak, the Tawar cluster in Kedah, said Health Director General Datuk Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah. 15 new cases of positive COVID-19, including 11 local transmissions, were reported in Malaysia yesterday, which includes 9 from the new cluster. Dr. Nur Hisham said that the Tawar cluster so far involved 10 positive cases, with the first case being case number 9113, who tested positive for COVID-19 on August 11, with 9 more positive cases reported yesterday. The first case of this cluster was a Malaysian man with a history of attending a religious ceremony commemorating the death of a family member that took place from July 31 to August 1, which is estimated to have been attended by 30 people. Dr. Nur Hisham said the first case began to experience chest pain and fever symptoms on August 8 and immediately sought treatment at the medical center. The COVID-19 screening was subsequently conducted on August 9 and the case tested positive on August 11. Dr. Nur Hisham explained that active case detection activities have been carried out and thus far 86 close contacts of the first case have been screened, of which 9 tested positive, 21 tested negative, and 56 are still awaiting test results. He said all of the new cases of this cluster are the family members of case number 9113, where 3 cases were found to have symptoms. 9 of the positive cases included the first case have a history of attending the religious ceremony. Dr. Nur Hisham said measures to prevent and contain the infection, such as disinfection and decontamination processes, have been carried out at the identified locations and that the cause of the infection is still under investigation. On to another news. The applications for Malaysia-Singapore RGL PCA cross-border travel is fully booked for August 17 and 19. Applications for cross-border travel between Malaysia and Singapore under the reciprocal Green Lane and periodic commuting arrangement schemes beginning August 17 have reached their maximum quota for the first 3 days. Johor Immigration Department Director Baharudin Tahir said the Malaysian Immigration Department had received 180 RGL and 6,000 PCA applications for the first 3 days since Monday, August 10. He said as of last night, the quota for August 17, 18, and 19 has been filled up. Under the RGL, they allow 400 people a week, meaning 50 and 60 people per day. As for the PCA, it's 2,000 people per day. He also said the result of application for cross-border travel will only be known a day before their travel dates. Baharudin said that to ensure smooth traffic flow, relevant departments and agencies like the police and the Johor Health Department will deploy sufficient personnel at the bus, pedestrian, car, and motorcycle lanes. Meanwhile, Johor State Health Director Dr. Aman Rabu said the State Health Department was ready for the reopening of the border, including to carry out COVID-19 screenings and tests. On July 26, Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein and his Singapore counterpart, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, met at the halfway mark of Causeway. It was a symbolic gesture to mark the agreement by both countries to reopen their borders on August 17, after both nations closed their borders to curb the spread of COVID-19, beginning with the implementation of the Movement Control Order by Malaysia on March 18. The reciprocal Green Lane, or RGL, will enable cross-border travel for essential business and official purposes between both countries, while the periodic commuting arrangement PCA will allow Singapore and Malaysia residents who hold long-term immigration passes for business and work purposes in the other country to enter that country for work. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Gail, for your updates there. Thank you, EBC Malaysia Bureau.
Thank you, Alma. Reporting live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Gail Aldous. We live in interesting times.
And China has suspended its flights from Sri Lanka amid rising new infections there. And also some Sri Lankans were found to be injured in the massive Beirut blast. The colossal blast killed 171 people and injured thousands more. Vanessa Viloria Silva joins us live from Sri Lanka. Vanessa.
Hi, Alma. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Alma.
Go ahead.
China's Civil Aviation Authority has suspended Sri Lankan Airlines Colombo to Shanghai flights for 4 weeks as 23 passengers tested positive for COVID-19 on August 7. These passengers were on board a Sri Lankan Airlines flights from Colombo to Shanghai. Hence, 2 other international air flights have also been suspended by the authority. 6 passengers tested positive for COVID-19, were taken on an Etihad flights from Abu Dhabi on August 3, 6 on a China Eastern flight from Manila, Philippines on August 5, and 23 on a Sri Lankan Airlines flight from Colombo on August 7. Accordingly, Etihad and China Eastern Airlines will be halted from operating in Shanghai for a week, and Sri Lankan Airlines for 4 weeks, with effect from August 17. And another update, Alma, the number of Sri Lankans injured in the massive explosion in the Lebanese capital of Beirut has risen to 20, said Sri Lankan embassy officials in Lebanon. Meanwhile, a flight carrying 250 Sri Lankans is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka on Saturday, August 15. Several injured Sri Lankans will return to the island tomorrow aboard the flight, said Ambassador Shani Karunaratne. The devastating explosion killed more than 170 people and wounded some 6,000 others. Dozens are still missing, according to foreign media reports. Back to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for your updates there in Sri Lanka. You do take care. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Alma, reporting live from Sri Lanka. This is Vanessa Viloria Silva, and we live in interesting times.
Okay, we have breaking news. The Department of Education today said that President Duterte has approved the recommendation of to move the opening of the school year of 2020 to 2021 from August 24. It will now be August 5. Education Secretary Leonor Briones said they submitted the recommendation to the President last August 6. After Metro Manila, Cavite, Laguna, Bulacan, Rizal were reverted back to MECQ. Now, meanwhile, areas outside MECQ were directed to continue orientations, delivery of learning resources for the October 5 opening. ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume 450. FI on to 100%. Standing by. Constructioning.
The Chinese embassy in Manila turned over 50 ventilators to the Philippines, completing the 130 units it committed to support the country's response against coronavirus disease or COVID-19 pandemic. The Chinese ambassador, Mr. Wang Xilian, and Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. graced the turnover ceremony at the Department of Foreign Affairs. The Chinese side looks forward to the early distribution of aforesaid ventilators to various medical institutions so as to help the Philippines fight COVID-19 pandemic, according to the embassy in a statement. Noting the current pandemic situation in the Philippines, the embassy said it's also donating cash and medical supplies to the Philippine medical institutions to help medical professionals and frontliners. The embassy will also donate urgently needed medical equipment such as high-flow nasal cannula oxygen therapy equipment to the Philippines. In other news, Indonesia's Mount Sinabung erupted again with a string of blasts that sent plumes of ash 2 kilometers into the sky. It triggered a flight warning and fears of lava flows. The activity marked at least the 8th time The rumbling volcano on Sumatra Island has erupted in less than a week, although there were no injuries or major damage reported. Authorities issued a warning to planes flying near the volcano, which last saw a deadly eruption in 2016. There is potential for more eruptions, and airlines are asked to be on alert, according to the National Disaster Mitigation Agency spokesman Raditya Jati. The crater's alert status remained at the second highest level. Mr. Jati said authorities had marked a 5-kilometer no-go zone around Sinabung and warned of possible lava flows. Locals are advised to wear face masks if they leave their homes to guard against the health effects of the volcanic ash on their health. On Monday, Sinabung belched a tower of smoke and ash some 5 kilometers high, coating local communities in a thick layer of debris after eruptions at the weekend. As the airline industry continues to be hit by the pandemic, Singapore Airlines has announced it is offering its cabin crew members the option of early release or retirement to further cut costs. Cabin crew members from both Singapore Airlines and Silk Air have until the end of the month, August 31, to apply for this scheme. Singapore Airlines has reported the first quarter net loss of more than $800 million on Wednesday. It is the latest carrier to take a massive hit as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Passenger traffic was reduced to almost zero in the 3 months to June, according to Singapore Airlines, leading to the Asian carrier's biggest ever quarterly net loss of 1.12 billion Singaporean dollars. Now, the numbers extended the flag carrier's financial bloodletting after losing 732 million Singapore dollars in the 2019 fourth quarter ended March 31, leading to its first ever annual loss. Wholly dependent on international routes, the airline was particularly hard hit by the virus and cut passenger services by 96% from April to June, grounding most of its fleet. In Indonesia, all passengers are now required to undergo rapid or polymerase chain reaction PCR test and obtain a result just before they get on the plane. Indonesia, the world's fourth most populous country, has been struggling to contain its mounting virus cases with 132,816 confirmed infections and over 5,900 deaths. But the true scale of the public health crisis is believed to be much bigger given the Southeast Asian nation's low testing rates. Indonesia launched its human trials of a Chinese-made coronavirus vaccine with some 1,600 volunteers slated to take part in the 6-month journey. The vaccine candidate, produced by Sinovac Biotech, is among just a few in the world to enter phase 3 clinical trials or large-scale testing on humans, the last step before regulatory approval. A coroner in Malaysia inspected the resort and nearby jungle ahead of an inquest into the death of a Franco-Irish teenager during a family holiday there last year. Nora Koirin, 15, disappeared from the Dusun resort, and her unclothed body was found later after a massive hunt through dense rainforest not far from where she had been on holiday with her London-based family. Her parents said they believe there was a criminal element to her death, as the teen had learning difficulties and would not have wandered off alone, but Malaysian police insisted there was no sign of foul play. The girl disappeared on August 4 last year, a day after arriving at the resort, triggering a 10-day hunt involving hundreds of people, helicopters, and sniffer dogs. An autopsy found Nora probably starved and then died of internal bleeding after about a week in the jungle, and authorities classified the case as requiring no further action. But her family pushed for an inquest, and a coroner has set dates from August 24 to September 4 for one to take place. On Thursday, the coroner, prosecutors, and the family's lawyer, under police escort, inspected the resort.
Coroner melawat tempat kejadian untuk melihat secara initial secara itu untuk preparation untuk persediaan inquest yang akan dijalankan minggu depan. Tempat mayat ditemui dan juga sekitarnya untuk Puan Coroner mendapat initial gambaran sebelum diadakan inquest.
Peguam.
He added that the teen's parents would not be present during the inquest proceedings due to the coronavirus-related restrictions, but would be interviewed by the coroner over a conferencing platform. The proceedings will also be streamed live online. 64 witnesses are expected to be called. ASEAN and Canada reaffirmed its commitment to further deepen their cooperation in areas of mutual interest at the 17th ASEAN-Canada Dialogue, held via video conference. Senior officials from ASEAN and Canada took note of the growing cooperation between the two sides across the three ASEAN community pillars and were pleased to note that all action lines in the current plan of action 2016 to 2020 had been addressed. Now, both sides looked forward to advancing their dialogue relations with the adoption of the new Plan of Action 2021 to 2025 at the ASEAN Post-Ministerial Conference, plus one session with Canada next month. The meeting appreciated Canada's active involvement and contribution in the ASEAN Regional Forum, the ASEAN Senior Officials Meeting on Transnational Crime, plus Canada consultation and its initiatives such as the Canada-ASEAN Scholarships and Educational Exchanges for Development. The meeting agreed to deepen cooperation or collaboration in areas of trade and investment through exploring the possibility of an ASEAN-Canada Free Trade Agreement, micro, small, and medium enterprises development, public health, transnational crime, cybersecurity, smart cities, information communication technology, and education and women empowerment. ASEAN appreciated Canada's support in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic through its mitigation of biological threats, Phase 2, 2019 to 2022, and the provision of personal protective equipment amounting to 4.5 Canadian million in June, among other initiatives. Once finalized, the ASEAN looked forward to Canada's possible support to the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund and the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Plan. Both sides also discussed regional issues of common concerns and shared the importance of strengthening maritime security cooperation through maritime domain awareness and explore cooperation under the ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific. They also underscored the need to uphold an open, inclusive, and rules-based regional architecture as well as multilateral trading system. Permanent Secretary of Myanmar's Foreign Affairs Ministry, Yu So-han, and Assistant Deputy Minister for Asia-Pacific of Canadian Global Affairs, Paul Thopil, co-chaired the dialogue, which was attended by ASEAN senior officials or their representatives and the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Political Security Community. And here's the latest numbers of coronavirus cases in the ASEAN region by Johns Hopkins University. Take a look. Now, Brunei reported no new cases since August 7, so it stands at 142 and 3 deaths. Cambodia has 273 deaths and 273 confirmed cases and 0 deaths. Indonesia saw 2,098 new infections and 65 deaths on August 13, taking the total to 132,816 and 5,968 deaths. Laos saw 1 new case on July 24. That was still July, so it stands at 20, still no deaths. And Malaysia saw 50 new cases on August 13. The total now is 9,129 with 125 deaths. And Myanmar saw 1 new case recorded on August 12. That takes the total to 369, 6 deaths with 6 deaths. And the Philippines saw 4,002 new cases and 23 deaths on August 13, taking the total to 147,526 cases and 147,526 with 2,426 deaths. Singapore saw 102 new cases on August 13, taking the total to 55,497 with 27 deaths. And Thailand has 3 new cases recorded on August 13, bringing the total to 3,359. They have 58 deaths. And Vietnam's Ministry of Health confirmed a total of 883 cases of COVID-19. However, 409 of the affected patients have recovered and been discharged from hospitals. Vietnam has also recorded 18 deaths due to the pandemic, 21 deaths. And cases have been reported from Da Nang, Hanoi, and Quang Nam. It has 911 confirmed cases. Globally, we have 20,840,381 cases. Global deaths is at 754,566. ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
The search for the best continues. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 is now accepting audition entries. If you are 21 to 59 years old and have what it takes to be the next Tagisan ng Galing Grand Winner as a solo performer, duet, trio, band, or grouped act, submit your audition entries now. Just follow these guidelines. To submit audition entries for the singing category, contact Nikki at 0977-651-9504. This is your chance to be Tagisan ng Galing's grand winner and win 2 million pesos. For more details and updates, visit and like the Tagisan ng Galing Facebook page. What are you waiting for? Join now!
Ein sonniger Tag heute hier in Berlin vor dem Bundestag. Ich bin Irene Juliet Arzadon und möchte diese Gelegenheit nutzen, um ein paar Worte mit euch zu teilen. An alle Menschen da draußen. In dieser Zeit lasst uns nicht vergessen, den Menschen zu danken, die ihr Leben für uns opfern. Sei es die Menschen, die im Krankenhaus arbeiten, in den Altenheimen sowie in den Arztpraxen, aber auch an die Menschen, die im Lebensmittelhandel sich befinden. Die Kassierer. Manchmal reicht es aus, um ihnen ein freundliches Lächeln zu geben. Denn die Menschen, die heute am Arbeiten sind, weil sie nicht so wie einige von uns zu Hause bleiben können, die sollten wir wertschätzen. Ihnen sollten wir unseren Dank ausrichten. Darum lasst uns noch mehr zusammenhalten, sie wertschätzen.
Welcome back. The city of Manila is well on its way into becoming the city of lights as Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso envisions it with its street lighting program getting a boost in recent weeks. Take a look. Manila City Department of Engineering and Public Works Director Armand Andres said they are done with several main thoroughfares in the city. Recently, the engineering department has installed solar studs in Rojas Boulevard, which is now becoming an attraction, especially after a netizen posted a video of it on social media. And the circle is in the vicinity of Intramuros, near the port area, which is also currently being developed. The solar studs were placed to illuminate the roads and guide motorists who are driving at night, especially during heavy downpour. Other main streets that are on the list to be lighted are Taft Avenue, Burgos Drive, and Rizal Avenue from Carriero up to the boundary of Manila and Caloocan. To recall, Mayor Dumagosos recently launched the lighted street of España. Andres said 61 sets of new lampposts were installed at the southbound lane of España Boulevard and 55 sets on the northbound lane. On the center island, a total of 56 sets of the same lampposts were installed. Domagoso said he is also planning to install closed-circuit television, CCTV cameras in the area, which will extend all the way to the University Belt area of the city. This will give a sense of added security for those walking in the area, especially at night. Earlier, free Wi-Fi digital kiosks have also been installed to benefit the students studying or residing in that part of the city. The lighting projects in the city are being done to discourage crimes, which usually take place in dark areas. The now well-lighted and rehabilitated Jones Bridge, as well as the lighting and dancing fountain in front of a Bonifacio shrine besides the Manila City Hall, have also become some of the new attractions in Manila. To Canada now, where the Member of Parliament, Mr. Kevin Lamoureux, attended an INC Aid to Humanity event and helped out in distributing goodie bags to the elderly. Kathleen May Pangan reports from Canada.
And they've done.
The Iglesia ni Cristo, or Church of Christ, led through the leadership of their Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, through the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, continues to fulfill their pledge to those who are in need through the Aid for Humanity outreach program during these times of the COVID-19 virus. The Church of Christ continues to help all people, whether those of their faith or not. It is indeed a heartwarming feeling and a pleasant sight to see that even in these trying times, the Church of Christ continues to provide a community service that benefits everyone.
My name is Kevin Lamoureux, a Member of Parliament for Winnipeg North, and it's such a pleasure to be with the brethren of the Church of Christ here in Winnipeg. You know, July 27 is a very important day. 2020? Well, we're celebrating 106 years since the church first came together. And over those many decades, we have seen so many positive, wonderful things take place. We can talk about how it's enhanced the faith and brought people together and enriched the families to the degree in which spiritually that they're better in tune with what their purpose of life is all about. We can talk about some of the many different good deeds over the years and people that have been so inspirational, the administration that has seen the church grow over the decades. Today, it's around the world. That includes here in Winnipeg North. And I've really been blessed over the last 30 years as a parliamentarian, where I've got to know many members of the Brethren of the Church of Christ, and they have done so much to making the community a better place. Today, celebrating 106 is a special day, as I said, and you look behind me and you see all these caring hands that came together to put together a package to support residents in Winnipeg's North End. And you know, it doesn't really matter where it is in the world. There are people that are in need, whether it's a senior on a fixed income or individual families that find it challenging. So here in Winnipeg, the Church of Christ, through my brother Sidney, has really identified a community that could use that helping hand, and it's such a pleasure to be able to participate in aid to humanity, supporting people here in the North End of Winnipeg. So I just want to first and foremost congratulate whether it's Brother Manalo from the Philippines and the administration, to the administrators here in Winnipeg, and of course the brethren, the people that attend the church, say congratulations, 106 years, and to give a special thank you for recognizing the importance of contributing, giving back to the communities. This is just one of many events over the years that has taken place. So just from the community to say thank you, and I look forward to supporting and helping and possibly doing some of the distribution itself.
Reporting for Eagle News from Manitoba, Canada, I am Kathleen May Pangan. We live in interesting times.
And that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us here in ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.